right. Let's give this a whirl here. Let's see if this works. Got my Insta360 4K. Got a microphone in my helmet. Using the giant squid. Let's see if that works. I'm gonna head up to the mountains and play a little today and try this out. See if I can do a little vlogging. Little stroll through the hood. It may sound like I'm just prattling on, but I'm trying different volumes, talking loud, talking softly, and then I can listen to it later and see what audio came out better. So, what to talk about? Well, something about YouTube and their algorithms and things that they push to me. It's like I sometimes scratch my head and I wonder. So lately, all kinds of stuff about flat earthers and motorcycle clubs, one percenters, and all that stuff. So I don't know if YouTube's just trying to annoy me. I'm not sure what's going on. Because I'm not about flat earthing. It's like, how can you live in this world and look around and think that, oh yeah, it's a disc and it's a government conspiracy and there's an ice wall and NASA's fake. Come on. These are mentally ill people that are just trying to put some kind of construct around their mental illness, their inability to grasp simple concepts, and probably not more than just a little bit of paranoia. But then I see like a bunch of the biker stuff, and at first I'm just not about. I mean, my wife's dad is in the combat vets. They're a 3-patch. I think they're a 3-patch club. I've got other friends that are in clubs and stuff like that, and some of them are, support groups for outlaws and things. And it's so not my scene. But I watch a couple of the videos, and I'll put their links down there. One was, I think, Black Dragon Biker. I think he's here in Georgia. And then there was one, Delo, something like that, up in Chicago. And I'm watching him. At first, my initial cynicism comes up. I'm like, ugh, wild hogs, bunch of posers, talking about one percenters because Sons of Anarchy was really popular, and then the Mongols, and now everybody's all about, back into the badass Harley, thing. But then I get to talk to the guy, and you know what? They're actually really down-to-earth guys, very genuine. We just have very different perspectives. I agree with them on some things and not on others. And so just to be clear, I'll put their links to their pages, check them out. Not calling them out in any way. I'm telling you, I went in with a certain assumption and a preconception, and it wasn't really accurate. These are pretty cool, chill dudes. Even if we don't, we have different thoughts on things. So the one in particular that really got me thinking about what's going to be today's topic was Delo. And, he spends a lot of time talking on his channel about, motorcycle clubs and etiquette and one percenters and all this stuff. And that shit just never made sense to me. And I think it's, when you look at people that are on, you think, oh, we're on bikes, we're all brothers. And we're not. I mean, not in my mind. Doesn't mean they can't be my brothers, but just because you own a bike that has the same number of wheels, a vehicle that has the same number of wheels as I do, that does not mean we're automatically brothers. There's cool people on bikes, there's cool people without bikes, there's dicks with bikes, So I think within the community of people who own bikes, you got to really break it down along two lines. There are bikers and there are riders. And those fundamentally are two very different things. A person who's a biker, they're very concerned with image. There's a lot of talk about respect. There's rules. They're in clubs. When you get into the one percenters, let's just call it what it is. I'm not saying there's not good people in those groups and one percenters, and I'm not calling them out and bashing them. It's just, they are what they are. One percenters are basically gangs. If the Crips and the Bloods and MS-13 all went out and bought bikes, they'd be a one percenter club, So I look at, some of these outlaw clubs. I mean, they call themselves outlaws. A lot of them are criminal organizations. Law enforcement knows this. Extortion, racketeering, drug running, murders, fencing stolen bikes. There's a lot of organized crime, drugs. It doesn't mean everybody in the club is a freaking drug dealer. I'm not saying that. But as a group, they're organized gangs. They just happen to also ride. And then you've got a lot of clubs that, you know, they want that image. They buy the same Harleys. They dress the same. They've got to have their patches. There's all this hierarchy. You've got a sergeant at arms. You've got, you know, the terminology is often the same. But they're just, you know, they're dentists. They're mechanics. They're just normal people that just want to be in that club. Those are all still bikers. You know, biking is a lifestyle. It's a choice. It's a subculture. When you go in, I guess you agree to the rules. And I think that's where the big difference is. And this is what got me thinking about this, was there was a video from D-Lo talking about, you know, the proper way to pass, or that on the road you don't pass a one percenter club. And he and I debated enough, and he was very respectful. He's a cool dude. But he was like, well, this is, you know, this is the way it is. And I'm like, yeah, but my world it isn't. And so when I really started thinking about it, it's like, well, he's from the south side of Chicago. He grew up around gangs. I don't know if he was ever in one, but I'm sure he's got friends and people that were, but he's certainly around them. And that's a very different mindset. So when you look at one percenters and all the rules and the do's and the don'ts, and if you pass them, you got to worry about them assaulting, you know, all this other stuff that we were discussing. And to me, it's just a foreign concept. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is America. If I want to go drive down the road and on my bike and there's a bunch of, you know, guys in front of me just tooling around going slow, I'm not going to pass them like a dick and cut in between them and put in, you know, I'm not going to interrupt their thing, but maybe not on this bike because it's not all that fast. But if I'm on my ZX14 and I see an open stretch of road, I can pass 50 people at a time if I want. It's a 200 horsepower missile. And I'm going to do it clean, and I'm going to wave. I'm going to make sure they see me, and I'll, you know, go on my way. And it's like, ooh, you better not do that. And I'm like, why? Because, again, I'm not from that world. I don't understand it. And I think that's so that sort of get me thinking, you know, I'm not a biker. I own bikes. I mean, this right here is my 32nd bike. My wife's on number 13. I've ridden hundreds of thousands of miles. I've spent probably more on bikes than I did on my house, literally, over the years, for bikes and parts and track days and all that kind of shit. And to me, it's about the passion of riding. I don't care what brand it is. You know, for years I said, oh, I'd never buy a Harley, because I didn't like the Harley lifestyle. I didn't like the culture aspect of it. To me, the bike is a means to an end. The label on it is, whatever. I'm a Ducati fanboy, but I'm riding a Triumph. My other bike in the garage currently is a Kawasaki. You know, I'll own anything. If it's a good deal and does what I want, I'll buy it. Because it's not about the bike. It's not about the culture. It's not about the group. It's about going out and having fun. Now, I may ride it with a small group of friends. See how the audio does here. Hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad. I've got the mic popped up in my helmet, so we'll see. I'm sure it'll be quieter on the ZX14 because then I got a fairing. But yeah, I like to ride, and it's about the bike. The bike is a means to an end. It's why I buy and sell bikes all the time. Everyone refers to their bikes as my baby, and they name it, you know, whatever, and it's like, whatever. Some people are like, I'd never let anyone touch my bike. I've let complete strangers up in the mountains start talking to some old guy. Ron, really cool dude. I can tell he's a respectable, nice guy. He obviously knows how to ride. So I'm like, take it for a spin, dude. Some people are like, you're crazy. To me, it's a piece of metal and plastic. I am a rider. I'm not a biker. I'm not about the lifestyle. I don't care about clubs. I don't observe rules. Because instead of being out in a car or a pickup truck, I'm just riding a bike. And it's a very different mindset. You know, when you look at bikers, they want to be in a club. There's a different mindset. They like that collective. It's almost like politics. And before I get into this, I'm not saying that bikers are like Democrats, because I know that so many of them are not. I'm just trying to talk about how you can see a pattern on how people, based on their personality types, tend to gravitate from one thing to another. Or from one or the other. So, you know, when you look at the political map of the United States, this country is red. The whole map is red. And then you see a couple little blue islands and a couple blue specks here and there. Why is that? Is it that if you're out in the country, it means you're going to be a Republican? Or is it more about the type of person that's self-sufficient, doesn't need public transport, doesn't like groupthink, doesn't need public services, they're self-reliant, they don't want to be bothered by other people? They tend to be driven crazy living in cities. So they move to the suburbs and further out. The kind of people that do have more, not that they're all socialists, but they have more of a socialist worldview. They like big groups of people. They need that sense of community. They need that sense of belonging. They want to go and, they need public transport, public services, and they're more dependent on other people or the government. They tend to gravitate towards areas that provide that, right? Makes sense. So people tend to do that, and you'll see them start to gather in clusters, and they'll be, surround themselves with people more like themselves. Your average rider, it's not about the group. They couldn't give a shit. They may have some friends that they regularly ride with, and all, that's all well and good. There's a social aspect, to be sure. And then there's the people that are like, they have the bike because they want to be in the club. Yeah, they love riding, but let's be honest, I've seen a lot of these clubs, and they spend as much time parked in front of a bar or Starbucks as they ever do out on the road. And when they are on the road, it's a group ride, and it's usually, they're in parade and they're riding side by side like they're on an episode of Chips or something. And there's procedures, and there's someone leading the group, and then you get on all the protocols and stuff, which to me, I always found a little, no offense guys, but a little bit hypocritical. It's all about thumbing your nose at the establishment, doing your own thing, and being an individual, and no one telling me what to do. And then the first thing to do when you join a club is, here's all the rules that you must follow, and if you don't, we'll kick you out, or if we're a one percenters, we will assault you, beat you up, and kill you. So kind of like, that's a strange mixed message in a way. But whatever, to me, at first I was like, this is stupid, you can't follow those rules. But then I thought about it, I'm like, the guy's kind of right. Even if you're not a one percenter, when you join a club, you're signing on the dotted line. You're joining that world. You're saying, I know what the culture's about. There's rules. You got to patch in. You got to be a prospect. There's etiquette to follow. If you're in this type of club, you're going to defer to that type of club. And everyone's agreeing to that. And so it's like, all right, well, you're on the hook. If that's the culture you want, you agree to the rules. It doesn't matter if the rules are arbitrary. It doesn't matter if I think they're stupid or silly. You all agree to them, so there is nothing wrong with that. My contention was, I'm not in that world. I didn't sign on to a gang culture. I didn't sign on to a club culture. I just happen to ride a bike, and if there's some slow guys in front of me, I'm going to frickin' pass them. I'm not going to be a dick. I'm not going to put their life in danger. I'm going to wait till there's an area to do a clean pass, and I'll do it respectfully, as I would for any other motorist, whether they have a patch on their back or not. Now, if you see one percenters, don't fuck with them. You are dealing with a gang, and you wouldn't go up like they're talking about, wearing a patch, and one of the 1% clubs tells you to take it off or they'll cut it off kind of thing. And it's like, I think that's crazy. But at the same time, you are dealing with a gang. If somebody said, you wouldn't go, if there's a neighborhood in the Bronx that's run by the Crips, you wouldn't go through flying their colors if you're not in that club. If you're not in that gang. That's just stupid. Are you legally within your rights? Yeah. Are they likely to hand you your ass or worse? Yup. So, if they're a legit 1% club or gang, give them wide berth. They say show them respect. I don't like the way that term's used. I don't respect a criminal. I don't respect a drug dealer. I don't respect a pedophile. I don't respect anyone that's a criminal or a thug. You don't get respect by threatening violence. You don't pull a knife or a gun on somebody and say, give me respect, I demand it. No, you earn respect. If you treat me with respect, I treat you with respect. If you're a cop or a soldier or someone that served their country, you've earned my respect. You've done things I don't have the balls to do. And you put others above yourself, that's worthy of respect. You're a doctor, you're saving lives, whatever. There's things that people do that are worthy of respect. I may show you deference because it's in my best health interests to go through the motions so I don't get beat up. But I'm not going to respect a criminal or a thug or a gang member or a drug dealer. I just don't like the term. But you got to at least go through the motions if that's what they want. You know, I have a gun and 25 rounds of ammo on me right now. I always do. But I have no, and I think I'm a big guy and I can probably take care of myself to an extent, but I have no illusions that I'm going to come out on top in an encounter with, 5 or 10 or 12, big burly bikers, whether they're in a regular club or a whatchamacallit, or a one percenters. I'm going to do what I can to not get in that situation. And if that means I have to pretend to show respect by basically just leaving them alone, giving them wide berth and not giving them an excuse to fuck with me. But, I saw some of the comments of, oh, you all think you're tough with guns and this and that. And it's like, well, you know what? If 6 or 7 guys come up on me and they're telling me they're going to put me on the ground, it's like, well, that's exactly why I do carry a gun. And to think that, people say, oh, you're not going to do shit. No, if my life's on the line, I may not win. But if someone's coming after me to really mess me up or kill me, it's like, well, I'm going to take 2 or 3 of you with me at the very least. It's like, I'm not going to just sit there and be a punching or stabbing bag, But that's just such a big difference between those two. Is this thing still recording? Making sure, yeah, good. That would suck if I had to do this all over. But that's the difference between bikers and riders. It's like, there's a culture with bikers. There's an attitude. People want to be bikers. They want to be in that club. They want a sense of belonging. They want that sense of brotherhood. They also want that image. A lot of them aren't bad guys. A lot of them are not tough guys. But they put on the uniform. They put on they buy the Harley. They all have the same chains and boots and the same T-shirts and everything else. It's basically a uniform. And they do that so that people will recognize them and go, ooh, he's a biker. Now, he may be a bad motherfucker. He may be an ex-con and a Hell's Angel. You don't know. He could be Wild Hogs and he could be a dentist. But the point is, most people will look at him and go, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, he must be, a biker. And bikers are badass and you don't want to mess with them. And there's a lot of people that walk around and they want that tough guy image, but they're not tough. Problem is, you don't know. The person that you're messing with could be a 1 percenter who's done hard time and will mow you right over. Or it could be somebody that is always got to be one pump. It's always the one I'm going to pick, too. It could be someone that, they're nothing. They're a chump. They just put on the uniform and they had a 700 credit score and walked in and bought a Harley and bought the uniform, and they're just playing the part. So it's for me, I just never worried about that stuff. But I also never thought about it. If you're from that world and that's the life you choose, I can't begrudge you for that. Whatever, it's a free country. Do what you want. But the notion that I'm not going to hold on, I want to flash this and have my card on there, so let's look away. I guess I could always blur it. Yeah, we'll blur that out. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on that. And you can think I'm crazy, but that's, it really is a different world, man. It's, so, that's my thoughts on that, it was interesting. I always thought it was, just stupid bullshit, Sons of Anarchy wannabes and stuff, but there's a lot more to it. And there's a lifestyle, and there's a whole different perspective that guys like D-Lo have that I'll never have. I didn't grow up in that world. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. And in some ways, he probably doesn't understand where I'm coming from. Someone who's not grown up in that world would look at that and go, what are you talking about? Like, I'm out riding, and you're telling me I'm going down a road, and there's a bunch of guys on Harleys, maybe doing the speed limit, if we're lucky, when they're in that group and going side by side and they're in formation. Oftentimes, they just park in the goddamn passing lane or you're up in the mountains and you want to get to, the twisty bits, and a bunch of guys on a Harleys on side-by-side. I don't care if you think you're a good rider. For a Harley rider, you're not going to keep up with sport bikes up there. And so a lot of us are up there to play in the turns and have fun, and it's like, okay, I don't want to be going 10 under the speed limit. So if I get the opportunity, I'm going to pass you. And it's not because, I'm disrespecting you, or, there's no intent other than there's something in front of me. We don't even notice the patch or what the patch is or whether it's a car or a bike. We want to get where we're going. You're slowing us down. I'm going to, cleanly and safely pass around you. And that's it. And there's no more meant by that. But the thought that I'm being told that, well, if I do that, there's consequences to my actions. And 10 miles down the road when I stop for gas, I may be physically assaulted because I passed someone and they're in this club and the rules are you don't pass them. No, my rules aren't that. I'm not in the club. I didn't subscribe to game culture. If you're in another club and those are the rules, yeah, you agreed to those rules. So that's what you do. But anyway, those are my ramblings. It was interesting hearing his perspective. I don't agree with a lot of it, but I understand where he's coming from. And, there's a whole other culture out there. There's a whole other different way of looking at life, apparently. And unless you're from that world or heavily exposed to it, you don't really understand it. That doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't mean I'm right. It just means we're different. And it's okay. The world would kind of suck if everybody was the same and just doing the same things for the same reasons, So, anyway, we'll get some other videos up a little later today. I'm just cutting through Gainesville here to go up to the mountains and play. Maybe we'll go up 60. I did Blood Mountain yesterday. I don't like doing it on weekends. Too many car clubs and bikers, and cops everywhere. GSP's been patrolling the shit out of that area, so I'm going to go hit some of the lesser traveled roads and have a little fun, and I'll try doing a little vlogging. Got some updates coming to the channel, some updates coming on this bike, and I haven't done a vlogging video of me riding and telling you what the experience of the bike was like while I was riding it, so we'll get some of that stuff too. Anyway, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, and go check out these other guys' channels. They've actually got some interesting content. I don't know if my subscribers, I think so, I've got probably a good mixture of guys that are riders and guys that are bikers, but it's always interesting to just hear someone else's story and gain their perspective, and things that you might have been critical of and think are stupid. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe there's a different reason. Maybe in the end you still aren't going to jump on board and subscribe to it. You at least have a better understanding, and maybe you won't put your foot in your mouth and criticize somebody for something that you really don't know anything about. So for that, D-Lo, that was good. It was good information, and it was good talking to you. So anyway, have a good one, folks. We'll talk to you later. And I got to try to figure out how to turn this shit off while I'm riding. I've never used the chin mount on this bike with this camera or the microphone or any of that stuff, really. So now I've got to try to figure out how to hit the button. Oh, luckily we got a good stoplight here, so I can look at my mirror and push the button.